benchmark way back.
Okay, great. And if you know, we are benchmark learning, and 2 years ago, ICT Technical Institute acquired us, so giving us a lot more resources, but we're actually called Center for Professional Development. So we run all kinds of classes here during the day, whether they're live instructors or virtual. So Krista Thielen, who works with Mike, put together just a promotion just for your group. And what it is 15% off this course right here, the CISSP, which I guess you're starting at April.
Yes.
So it'll be a 15% discount, and I'll just have a sign-up sheet if anyone has an interest at all. We'll send you the code for that, or if you want information on any of our courses. And what's interesting, the author of the textbook, the book here, is that gentleman right across the hall, Kent Blumen. So we have quite a few permanent educators here that teach in a variety of different subjects. So that's all I want to say. Any questions for us?
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If he teaches, how come he's not a member?
Hopefully David finds us.
Yeah, he should join our chapter.
I'll give you this.
Tell him to join our chapter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, if he teaches CISSP, here.
Did everybody sign in?
It's only $20.
Might have something to do with,
I'm gonna go check outside. What the meeting is, it's gonna delay. We don't have a speaker, so he said, he knows it's here at 3, so unless something happened, I don't know.
Did you give him a ringy dingy already?
What?
Get him on phone?
I don't know his phone
Text
number.
him, message him, chat
I
him?
think
I got
I've
his
got it.
email
I'll
address.
call him in a minute when I get through.
You got his email, phone number?
I've spoken to him several times. I think it's in my address book.
What's up? I'm gonna go look outside.
Run a network attack against one of his computers and then he'll know we're trying to get our attention.
Then we'll go over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. Got a viewer.
Hey, it's Eric, and we're all excited to see you. We're hanging out at ITT Tech. It's come in the door. It's way down on your right. Thanks. Yes.
If I went so many times, I went for something cheap. I got a blue.
Where's Amber?
For $50 on Amazon. It was better than the last 3 phones I dropped.
Where's our distinguished VP?
But your last one there.
Amber not able to come?
I,
I don't have that sure download messes, so I'm
maybe not.
Unless you would expire. A little closer.
Wait.
Oh, there's stuff. There's stuff. I called Dave and he didn't answer his Google Voice number. Do I? All right, just search. I'm getting results. Problems.
Okay.
Good over here. I will. See your signature.
So the only contact I've had was with this email. What? I know.
Fired up.
It's called Mike.
Boarded here? Thanks very much.
Curtis stuff.
You have the secure 360 shot?
VA.gov.
I will look that up too. I've given it out a bunch today.
We have a member code.
Eric's probably got it.
ISC.
Yeah, I have it.
That I want.
Yeah.
STC 20.
Or you could go through. Everybody here a paid member, is it safe for us to?
You can give it to him directly.
Amber emailed it to me without checking to see that my membership was current, so.
Well, there's a few board members that need to pay for dues.
The guilt is thick in this room.
Go on for a while.
I'm assuming my set emails must be in cache or something, so it's not completely on my send messages.
Tricky, isn't it?
STC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They didn't say cloud side CSTC a lot for other stuff, so I'm just gonna.
Definitely worse than being a telecom engineer and seeing MPLS all over everything. It's so confusing.
I've got a good signal. I don't know why it wasn't working.
I don't know, maybe the stream rates up like this slow.
Yeah. We just turn off data and turn it back on.
So here we have 50
They're just on the chapter website. Stuff.
it's 50 people for our class. It's a study group.
Yeah. We had one guy bail already. Yeah. It's
Well, I signed up on
48.
the date.
Hey, sir.
The speaker isn't here yet, if I heard correct?
Yep, not yet.
Did you want to do your,
I'm gonna start that.
so who was telling me?
We may have that.
Hey, like about 10 minutes into it, like, oh my God.
Hey, Mike.
It's like I'm pretty
It's amazing how hard
Hey,
it
Mike.
is over the years.
Well, it gets worse.
Do you have good internet access right now? Can you see the monthly report I send out? The membership cheat sheet?
Yes?
Can you look at it quick and look under G's and find a P?
Hold on a minute.
Have you ever had those? I don't know if you're on that distribution list, but I email out the list of members and it's got zip codes and the first three letters of a person's last name
No, I don't.
and first initial kind of thing.
Not pretty good information.
I moved it over to a spreadsheet, so what are you looking for?
Pretty much. So. You cheated and you got more than you're supposed to have. Get your own.
No, this is just the text file you sent me, I just pushed it over into a,
Oh, way long ago, the SQL export.
that was from this last,
So that would have his expiration date on it, as opposed to my cheat sheet that doesn't have.
what are you looking for?
Oh, I see, okay, yeah, you do have the full thing. Gee, so you have fallen off the list. So your expiration predates that.
Fair enough, export. Well. You introduced me to the list.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we'll start, and hopefully the speaker shows up before we're done with the preliminary stuff. If he isn't, we're gonna have to just wait for him. So, welcome everybody. We had a good speaker. If he's lost or something, I don't know what's going on. He's usually pretty reliable. Welcome to the meeting. Click. Next time. Next click.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
Got it.
Up, back.
Too far.
We're gonna do a chapter update in the presentation, which might end up being the last thing, in upcoming events in the Twin Cities. Board and committee president, we had to file our annual report to ISC Squared down in Florida. We did that just this week, so we're okay for another year being an authorized ISC Squared chapter. We are starting a CISSP study group on the 23rd. Right now we have 48 people registered. It's going to be a large group. We have 3 domains that we still need presenters for. And this is a study group. This is not teaching someone a class. This is basically putting some information out there and then getting questions and answers from people that want to pass the test. So this is not designed to replace a boot camp, which is what they're offering here at the 15% deal. And if we did that, if we offered it as a boot camp, we'd be in trouble with ISC Squared anyhow. So this is just a study group to help people and get in touch with other people that are trying to pass the test. We need domain 2 on the 15th for asset security, which is basically protecting your security assets. That's one of the domains that are pretty much the same from the old last year, the old CISSP. Domain 6 in May for security assessment and testing. And domain 7 is security operations. So this is basically what we need help with. If you're interested in it, you can contact me at president at isc2tc.org, and I will pass it on because Curtis is the one that's actually managing the who's presenting there.
Sorry, what was that email?
What?
The contact email for that?
President
President
at
Okay.
isc2tc.org. Vice President isn't here, and she told me she wasn't going to be in here. She basically is the one that meets with UMSA, and UMSA is the one that does the Secure 360. Secure 360 is on May 17th and 18th. If you are a member of the local chapter here, you get a 50% or $50 discount if you're a member of the local chapter, not that you have your ISC2 Square membership internationally. It's the local chapter.
How did they prove that?
I audited it.
He audits it. What I do,
You lost me. I'm at the door. I say I'm a local member. How do they know I'm one? But I'm telling the truth.
we can't, you gotta get a code.
You get the discount code from me.
Oh,
If you use
okay,
the
now
discount
I got
code
it.
from someone that you learned it from, then they send that out to
Now I got
look and see, are these your members?
They probably won't send it out.
But anyhow, the,
They use the same.
Theoretically,
for a $20 membership here, you get a $50 discount. Today was supposed to be the early discount end. It's going another week to the 23rd. So you still can get in on the early discount if you register now. We are talking about possibly having a social on the 18th in downtown St. Paul afterwards. Right after the meeting, say, 5 p.m. There he is! If everybody, this is David Bryan, if you don't know him. The god of DEF CON.
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
video man, yeah. And look at what, page 319 is it?
So question, so when you merge the social with ISSA,
You're mentioned.
are you looking at 2 different socials?
Two different socials. Theirs is on the 17th. Ours is going to be on the 18th.
Oh, the second day, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So just, so you know, it's a different day. Just as a heads up, Secure 360 is moving next year to downtown Minneapolis because they've outgrown the River Center. It's just not big enough for them anymore. So anyhow, anything else you think of that was on the secretary's agenda? No, last time?
So, I don't think we've talked about this yet, but a MISC MN conference, if you guys have heard about that, we set up a discount code for you. We haven't.
For which conference?
The Minnesota Information Security Community Conference. It's like DEF CON Light, the weekend right before Secure 360.
Send me an email about it.
I will absolutely send you that.
And we'll post it. Yeah, we'll get Bob to send it out in one of our emails.
Low cost option. And we love Secure 360 too, and we'll all be there. So
The regular price is $49 and it's a 2-day conference.
it's a 2-day conference and it's half off with the discount code we set up.
Where's it at?
It'll be at the depot, which is right near the convention center where the
Yeah.
Secure 360 is.
Cool.
So
So, quick question. I'm new to Minnesota, so forgive my ignorance. How much does it cost to go to the Secure 360 thing?
I have no idea. It's like $500-600.
I've asked several people that today, and
What?
nobody knows.
$360.
yeah, it's
I don't know.
I know,
I
it
really-
runs
I-
$500 with the discount that we get, otherwise it's $550.
I mean,
Early.
The earlier you register, the bigger it is. So if you go to, just Google Secure 360, and it'll show you when it is, and it's one of the biggest conferences in the upper Midwest. They are also talking about,
at 500.
they're also talking about splitting it between, besides this conference, they're actually gonna spin off a conference and have a day conference in Des Moines and a day conference in Madison. But that's this next year. That's some of part of their 3-year plan of growth and what this thing is. And Secure 360 is UMSA's, I don't remember what the acronym is. It's basically Upper Midwest Security Association. Alliance, something like that, yeah. But it basically is all the security groups in this area coming together and putting together a security conference.
Say Mike.
This year, who's Bryan?
Brian Krebs.
Bryan Krebs.
Krebs is the keynote.
If anybody's looked at some of his stuff from his blog, it's pretty good.
Those of you who are going, holy crap, $500 is a lot of money, because you don't have somebody to expense it on or whatever. I volunteered last year and I was a moderator in some of the sessions. I got a ticket count. So, and they are looking for volunteers. I got an email this morning from them. Still looking for volunteers. So you can get in as a volunteer and not have to pay a penny. So
Our chapter will also be looking for volunteers to help out manning our membership booth. And so that may be another opportunity to hang out with us.
Yeah, like I say,
Pitching membership.
I mean, we do get 2 paid, which I'm gonna take one this year because I'm not sure how much I'm gonna be able to deal with, because I have personal issues where I'm not necessarily gonna be able to make the full 360 this year. Normally I'd pay it and give it to someone else, and then there's one other one, and then we get 4 tickets that basically don't get you into any of the presentations, but you can go and talk to all the vendors. It's basically you come in as a vendor. So we got, those are there if you just want to come in and not see any of the presentations and just see what it's about and then help man the booth, you can.
They also have student discounts if you're a student.
I can't hear you.
They also have student discounts if you're a student.
Yeah.
We should
Okay.
fast forward. I
Anything else that's out there?
was gonna say we're running about 15 minutes behind, so it'd be good to fast forward. and
So-
get
Okay.
this thing.
I wonder,
Web design, they're gonna get the, what?
so what you're talking about conferences, B-sides is gonna be in June again this year? So there was a B-Sides conference last summer downtown in Minneapolis, and they've announced they're gonna be June 11th and 12th.
The B-sides we're gonna do too, so. I will get all this stuff as we get the documentation from these individual shows and publish it in one of our emails. And our webs, we're gonna supposedly have our web done
Yeah.
next month.
I'm still waiting on Scott.
Hopefully we get our web designed and we get the stuff so you can actually go to our website and get current information off of it. Treasurer's not here. We're doing all right. We could use sponsors, but we've got enough to cover most of our expenses this year. Membership, anything? $20. Remember, it's for 1 year, and if you need to renew.
Yep, it's 365 days, so whatever day you paid is the day your membership renews on. I have not been necessarily reaching out to people via email or phone. I'm finding a lot of people early on have given me like the general switchboard number, or emails are bouncing, and I don't want to spam anybody, so just as a reminder, I'm not necessarily reminding people when their expiration is. Our member counts are all right. There's a good number of people that have renewed today, and I know there's more coming in the next, few months. It's 40 plus members roughly that are paid up membership. Membership's optional, so if there's anybody who can't cough up $20, please keep coming. It's not a requirement at all. We're doing all right financially. For anybody who's new, you want to know what's going on in the Twin Cities, we do maintain on the website still a calendar. I try to keep that up to date. And if you've got an event you know about, you can invite me, membership at isc2tc.org. If you send me a calendar invite, it's super easy because I can just do copy invitation to calendar, and it shows up on our website right away. So that's the preferred way to send me events. And I'm happy to answer emails too about stuff that's going on. There's a pretty strong community in the Twin Cities, so there's something going on every week.
Okay. We definitely need someone to help with these things here. Speaker and location can kind of be merged, but we need someone to help us with sponsors. We need someone to help us with direction with sponsors. I mean, we tried last year to go with sponsors where they paid to give presentations, but then we had people that were not happy that they ended up just getting coming to a meeting and they were getting a sales presentation. There wasn't enough technical information. We always told them, make it technical and only put the sales at the end. It doesn't always work that way. So we're going to try to get more technical presentations and not tie the presentation to our sponsorship this year. I think we're at David's.
Yep.
David,
If
you got
need
your
to set up, we
stuff
should
ready?
get going here.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you.
Good place to plug in. Well, as soon as yours question.
Everybody have a cookie or water?
Unfortunately, we're doing this on email, so I just
I would like to do that. And what's been kind of an interesting show, some of this goes back to
right now, anyway, so.
former president who was adamant about.
But I'm gonna use the webcam.
Not having online presence with website content, and some of that legacy stuff there's on. It actually took a lot of work to get the Februarly or going. In the early years, but it's the learning about Square taking 100% percentage. We have reached the point where we don't need the money. I
Probably.
But yeah, I'll bring it up some other portion of the role super day. Take that further. I have.
It's also a factor that you might be using. Just going away in wire money, so if somebody lapses for 2 months, that makes me try to pay attention, so.
Yeah.
Much better.
To date, no one has actually cared about the labs. Everyone that I'll ask, do you want membership to begin today or do you want membership to continue? after leases I won't continue. So we haven't lost out
500.
on that.
Well,
But I get your
I
point.
don't often shop for it, and I'll put it this way. GoDaddy charges me for domains that I haven't used in a decade.
Yep.
And I don't care. So I'm happy to go. See, it's image I heard of value.
Yep.
Over that on jug.
I agree with you. And I can't get the one there, I will because
It's continuous. See if you want me to.
Yeah,
That's kind of.
that's the sales.
Yeah, let's see if I can. Is that good?
Yeah, cool. Everybody see it?
Yep.
How's everybody doing today?
great, super.
Good, good. How many people here have heard of Docker? Okay, so a few that haven't, and we'll talk about what Docker is a little bit. Hopefully everybody will get a little bit of a background on it. First, who am I? My name is David Bryan. I've been GOONing for a number of years with DEF CON 6. Also helped run a security conference in Chicago called ThoughtCon. We've got basically 1,000 people that come to the conference right now. 2 tracks, run over 2 days. I think we are down to the last 100 or 200 tickets available. So if people wanted to register for that, they should go do that. We've chosen a number of our slots as well and started posting those out to our Twitter feed and also on the website. I helped start DC 612, and a number of people helped run it over the years. DC 612 is a local DEF CON group, for those who don't know. We tend to meet once a month, talk about whatever our fancy is. Maybe it's lockpicks, maybe it's Docker hacking, maybe it's wireless hacking, whatever it might be. It's typically technical in nature. Next month, we're going to try and do some turbo talks where we allow people to come up and do 5-10 minute presentations on whatever they're interested in, and hopefully get some good participation in the community. Also a hardware hacker and starting my own wireless ISP, and then I'm a pen tester for my day job for Rapid7. ThoughtCon, obviously May 5th and 6th. Minnesota NICE, right? MISC, MISC Conf, May 14th and 15th. That's what you're talking about. So, and then Tour Camp's going to be this summer. I'm going to be out there doing the wireless network, probably teaching a workshop of some sort, but out in the middle of nowhere in the Puget Sound or remote Seattle. It's a lot of fun. A bunch of computer nerds out camping. All right, so what is Docker, right? Docker is a really neat idea from the perspective that we, instead of having to have dedicated resources like we do with virtual machines, for example, right? We can have shared instances that run on top of your VMs. So you're running the same shared libraries, but you don't have to have a whole nother operating system that runs on top of that in order to build out a container or virtualized environment. So in a traditional virtual machine, this is taken right out of Docker's marketing slicks. You know, you have your app that runs on the top, and then you've got libraries and then the OS that run underneath that. And then you've got a hypervisor of some sort, be it VMware, be it VirtualBox or whatever. And so for each app you want to run, you've got to create a whole other set of hardware, essentially, or virtualized hardware that runs on top of that OS. So you're eating up disk space, you're eating up resources, maybe for things that don't need to be there. With Docker, the idea is that you have a container, right, that lives on top of just a kernel, right? And so the container is much smaller than a full-fledged OS. You're now also sharing one kernel across hardware instead of trying to share multiple kernels on that same hardware. So it's a really interesting idea in concept, right? Sort of another view of how you might view a container is you got your server, you got your host OS, and then you got your Docker engine that runs on top of that. And that's what shares libraries that everybody else uses up to the applications.
Can they be the same apps? Meaning like load sharing?
So yeah, I mean, your app, if your app is configured to do that, sure, right? Because they're technically virtualized containers, right? And the containers can talk to each other. You could set it up so that they all talk with each other. You can do Docker Swarm, allows you to dynamically grow and reduce Docker containers. So if we kind of compare them side by side, you can see that you've got, with Docker, you probably have less resources required to run the same apps, potentially. Yeah, does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions on that?
Another observation, you don't have the rigid resource allocation. Like in a heavy VM environment, you've got a disk image that's X gigs.
Yep.
You've got X gigs of RAM set aside.
Yeah.
Whereas with Dockers, you can make Docker containers, you can make that a lot more flexible.
Yeah, so think about it in terms of with your
Figure share or?
this OS, right? That might be 20 gigs, right? That's another 20 gigs. That's another 20 gigs. You might have memory that lives on top of that. It's going to allocate 8 gigs of memory to this, 8 gigs of memory to this, 8 gigs of memory to that. With the Docker container, you can say, all right, all this stuff gets 20 gigs, right? Maybe the Debian gets 20 gigs and the Ubuntu gets 20 gigs. So now instead of having 80 gigs worth of space, you only have 20 or 40, right? And then all these app pools get 16 gigs all in total, right? So you don't have to triple or quadruple your requirements.
So in the VM environment, when guest A wants to talk to guest B,
Has to go all the way down to the,
you have an OSI layer model.
yeah, it has to go all the way down to the hypervisor.
Right. How far
So
down
in this,
is?
there is actually a networking component inside of Docker.
Oh, okay.
So there's a virtual network.
So layer
interface.
3 still then.
Yeah, so it has to go down to the Docker engine to go between the components. But yeah.
But you don't have many IP stacks. You have one stack talking over a bridge.
Totally.
So it doesn't have to go down into the hypervisor. And sometimes what ends up happening, like if you have the vSwitch infrastructure, it might actually have to go off your host
True.
to the vSwitch and then come back onto your host and go up to the next host.
And the Docker handles the interlocks between storage allocations and all that kind of stuff.
Yep. Yeah. So it's basically an abstraction layer that you as an OS talk to the Docker daemon, right? Your OS talks to the Docker tool sets, and it does everything else for you as far as storage and memory management, networking on the back end without you having to think about it.
And sockets and file handles and any way you would interact with the OS on a native layer. You're talking-
Console,
Yeah.
keyboard, T2Is, and ptrace, and all sorts of stuff that you'll see later on here.
In short, everything in dev and proc.
Yes, everything in dev and proc. So like vMotion, Docker Swarm allows you to launch containers on any of the multiple Docker services that you have and move them around. It's a new concept. It's the reason that I have this talk, that I actually came up with the material for this talk, was because I was doing a test with a client who basically was moving or was putting out a product offering using Docker Swarm, right? So the idea is their clients come to them, instead of them provisioning them, individual virtual machines, they provision a Docker Swarm, which I as a developer can connect with my development tools to Docker Swarm and tell it spawn off these Docker containers at will or at random. And Docker Swarm will pick the server with the least amount of load to spawn containers for you, right? So you're talking to a master, and the master figures out where to put the container, essentially. So in picture form, you've got multiple hardware and then containers that can run on any of those. Yeah.
I'm sorry for this question, but how does Docker handle memory persistence?
Memory
Like on a swarm.
persistence?
Yeah, like you have a swarm, do you have a mounted volume that goes with the container?
Yes, yep, there's a container that is only up for as long as the container is up, right? Or the file system is only up for as long as the container is up. Once the container gets shut down, that file system goes away. Yep, it disappears. So unless you go through and say, save this, it's kind of like Amazon images, right? When you terminate an Amazon image, if you haven't made an image of it or a copy of it, that whole disk goes away, right? And anything that's in memory and in storage goes away. So from a persistence perspective, yeah, that's gonna go away. At least that's how it's been architected. So we were brought in to basically try and break out of the Docker, right? And the understanding from our perspective was, okay, if we're handing this off to our clients, what could they potentially do to us or our network or to other clients, right? You know, can we sell the Docker swarm to multiple people, right? Or do we have to restrict it? So, you know, some of those things are things that we thought about, and you know, threat vectors are, or that we came up with, basically would be to crash the container, right? Or crash the swarm instance, right? So if we crash the swarm, which has multiple containers, that's a bad thing. Crashing the host OS, or crashing the VM, right? Those are all things that we thought about. However, I mean, those are fun things to do. However, what we really wanted to be able to do is escalate, right? If I'm in a Docker container, I want to gain access to the VM or the host that Docker container is running on. Or can I escalate out of that VM once I've escalated out of the Docker container? So some of the things that we found that actually worked from within the Docker management interface is that we could read standard in and standard out of the virtual machine's pseudo TTYs. So if I'm attaching to a Docker instance and it's running on a VM, I probably shouldn't be able to read the physical standard in and standard out of the console interfaces on the machine, right? So that's bad. We also were able to attach to the PC keyboard, which is essentially another device that could be potentially handed out to the client. I mean, because it's trying to mirror or mimic the Docker software is trying to mimic a PC or mimic a computer, right? So there's all these other developer functions that it's going to extend out by default. One of the other things that we did many times was we crashed the Docker containers, crashed the Docker swarm instances, as well as the VMs. So these things are not bulletproof. And this was a test about 6 months ago. And then eventually we figured out how to gain access inside of the VM, which was fun. You know, it's kind of scary. So go from zero knowledge to having a Docker instance that I can run. I mean, I'm sort of a privileged user in the fact that I can run a Docker instance, but I shouldn't be able to break out of that Docker instance and gain access on the VM, right? That's a huge deal. And so that's one of the things we're actually able to do. The way we did it is via Python ptrace. Python is a great programming language. Ptrace is a development tool set, development kit, that basically allows you to tell, hey, process, stop what you're doing. Oh, and put this stuff in memory. Oh, and now jump back to this stuff in memory, right? And then run it. So let's see if we can do a demo. I don't know if this demo will work, but we will try, and if not, I have screenshots, so. All right, can everybody see this?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you kept talking about the VM, but you don't have to run Docker on top of a VM, do you?
No, you don't.
So if they were on a physical
If we're on a
server,
physical host, yep.
you would have had
Yep.
access to the physical host.
Absolutely. Yep. So the method that we're using here is we're actually using dropbear. So dropbear is a SSH daemon that's all compressed into one binary that was running on the host in memory. And then we ran a Docker container that was also running dropbear. And so what we did is attached to the process in memory of dropbear, which is also going to share some memory allocation with the dropbear process running on the VM.
Because they're the same shared libs.
Yep. So we basically attached to it, injected a shellcode, told it, hey, start the instruction pointer back, and then begin to execute, right? And then at that same time, you fire off a netcat. Basically, just open up a listener to the dropbear shell, right? And that executes the code, and then boom, we get privilege elevation. We'll see if this works. So I've already created this script of the Python program on this instance. I've started a Docker container. I've installed Python ptrace and all the tools that I need already. And then I wrote this file to the Docker container. So we actually give it a PID instead of telling it to try and find a PID inside the program. But then we go down to here and we say, so we pull in the ptrace debugging tools, right? And go down here and we say attach to a process ID, right? And then we go through and we tell it debug this process, return the process, and further down. Here's our injection. So there's two things here. We define a buffer, right? Buffer code, shell code, and then we go through. We say get the instruction pointer, right, for the memory stack. Go through, write our shell code, right, into the buffer, basically. And then we tell it go back to 0, starting entry of the register, and then continue. So continue running. Let's see if this shellcode works today. So you can see I'm on here, right? I'm just running as a regular user here. I've attached to the Docker process. I've run the Docker command over here. I'm actually in a Docker host, right? Docker environment.
While you're doing that, David, I'm going to clarify just for a moment. The reason that Docker ships with Linux VMs is Docker is intended partially as a development environment. So you can run Docker on Windows, you can run Docker on OS X, but to give a unified platform to everybody who uses Docker, Docker then executes a VM running Linux. And that's what your Docker containers live inside. They live inside that VM. So you're actually running a heavy VM with inside it those lightweight containers.
Well, all right. So did I start this as not right? Anyway, yeah, I don't have internet. So here, we'll just go to the screenshots.
We could get John in.
Yeah, that's right. So here we go through the specific component that's important to note here is the privilege, right? So what we're doing is in the version of Docker that we were breaking, we didn't have to run a fact privilege, right? It just by default did that. Also, capability to add system ptrace, right? So we talk to the ptrace libraries directly, process traced. We interact with this this Docker container and run this program, or run a shell essentially. So then, let's see, pull it down, basically listing out the Docker images that I've got here. And then once we run the Docker image from that privilege command, I have to go through and add all the Python ptrace libraries to the image. Technically, I could probably create my own container and have all this stuff in there, but you know, for demo purposes, it's easier enough to just do this. And then, then we copy in our shellcode, write it to disk, and here's the actual process of it. We tell it a PID, it attaches to the PID, inserts the shellcode, sends it back. We then telnet or use netcat to go to the local host, right? Port 22. And didn't work, so we did it again. Netcat localhost, boom, here we are. So you can see this is my shell on my current box. This is a shell on something else, right? Because I'm not getting any sort of bash prompt or anything in there. You can see there's my UID, root, you name.
Without the sysptrace, you were not able to get.
So if you remove the privilege and the sysptrace, I wouldn't be able to do that because I need to be able to attach to the kernel system ptrace and inject junk into the kernel, right into the memory stack, essentially.
Why would that option be enabled in a production environment like the one you're describing?
People don't know.
And why is it on by default, you're asking?
Is it on by default?
Yeah,
That's the
it's
next
by
question.
default.
Yes.
Okay, I thought you said you had to add.
It was. I should
So that was their implementation.
Yep.
Okay.
So, well, it was not their implementation, it was different versions of code. So this is Docker 2.1, I think, and they were on 2.0 or 1.9. So like, as people have been testing this stuff and coming back to them, they've been changing the defaults. So
Going from a developer mindset to a security mindset.
Right.
And thinking least privilege a little bit here.
Yep. So, and I don't think Docker has typically thought least privilege. So that's why I think, you know, there'll probably be another 2 or 3 years of testing before we can really say that, yeah, I would be comfortable running this. Because we need to figure out what bugs. Running this on the internet, I guess is what I should specify. Like if you're running it internally, your risk is probably fairly reduced, right? But if you're running it on the internet to people that are talking to it directly, and they're not part of your company, you know, untrusted third party, that's a big risk.
So question for you. That's perfect. So the fail mode. Copy on write is what should have happened. Why do you think it didn't happen with the shared libs? Because I'm writing to shared libs, and the Linux kernel at this point should have identified that I'm writing to a shared resource. What should have happened is it should have copied on memory on the write.
Docker has the privilege.
So when you turn on ptrace, you turn off copy on write? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I'd have to look.
Okay, because I'm curious, because it sounds like you broke copy on write, which is what should have happened, because you should have essentially split that shared lib in half in memory as soon as you wrote to it, because you had 2 copies of it in memory.
But Docker is trying to share those libraries, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to make, I don't know if it makes an exact copy, right?
Or Docker just leaves it open and it stays open as one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm going to dig deeper into that. But
that would be something to look at what the Docker code is doing.
Yeah, somewhere between Docker and Linux's kernel memory management.
Because it's trying to reduce all the stuff, right? You know, remember you're trying to share libraries, so you don't have a gazillion libraries that are all shared, or copies of copies of copies.
Yeah.
Things come across with the lightest or the least amount of footprint, right? And that's the other thing is that the host machine has to be running Dropbear, right? I can't run that same exploit if the host machine doesn't have those libraries loaded.
You could break into adjacent containers if those adjacent
Possibly.
containers were running Dropbear.
Yep.
Do you have disassembly of your shell code that you put in there? What is the shell code?
It's just basically a generic shell, just pops in the memory. I don't have any disassembly of it, but if you look up,
It's something you've used before for another task and you just made use of it here.
if you look up that code, I think there's, oh no, the Python ptrace. Actually, I think that's where I got that. So if you look at the Python ptrace library on GitHub, there's an example shellcode. And that's all you need in this case. We're not trying to do anything fancy, so. Yeah, so they also had App Armor on. I mean, it only helps so far if you can attach to the ptrace stuff, you know. The cap add or capability add flags, I would severely restrict that because there was a bunch of other things. Like I said, we could talk to the P2I, right? We could read data off the physical VM console of the machine from within a Docker container, right? You know, if someone were to log in as ripped on that console, I could just watch that and then grab a RIP password or whatever account decided to log in.
Or inject commands into their stream.
Or inject commands, yeah. Make sure you review the security of what you're doing, test it. And like I would give it about 2 years. Like it's gonna be a while before it has
They just released 1.10 that supposedly removes the Docker's not running with admin privileges on the host.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah, you can launch Docker containers as a primary user. You no longer need UID 0, but there are some things that break. Yeah, lots of things that look in proc, many things that look in dev will not work properly. You can run a web server, but you know there's limitations on non-UID 0
So
starting containers.
10 is a good start, but it really doesn't fix the problem because it breaks a lot of things.
Yes, they said, oh wow, you're driving the car too fast. We'll take the wheels off. Hang on a second. So they solved the problem, but not quite the way that we anticipated.
So, any questions? It's pretty short and simple.
We get a copy of your spreadsheet or your presentation.
Sure.
Do you want to bring those URLs back for a second? Thank you.
Yeah.
I've got kind of a question about how you do the pen test. Do you, I mean, you sit down and you think of ways to attack and then you kind of prioritize them, or you think of ways to attack and then divvy them up amongst the team?
So it was a team of us. It was about 5 of us, I think, working on the project. And we basically said, okay, our goal is to break out of this stuff. If you crash it, that's also okay too. And so like, you know, HD Moore, for example, like sat down and grabbed a bunch of his old C code and went, okay, let's try these. Let's see what happens, right? It's kind of a shotgun effect when you got basically 2 weeks to break everything you can in the shortest amount of time. So we tried, you know, code that would interact with the video drivers, code that would interact with memory, code that would interact with just about anything that we could think of. Networking, I mean, that's something I didn't mention here, but like there's a whole virtual network that sits there. And I was like, oh, let's see what's out here. It's not in scope, but let's see what's out here. And I found default instances of, there's a Python development tool set, like a, you know, learn to program in Python Docker image that comes up where you go to the web page and you click root shell and it drops you into a root shell. Like on a web page in a Python server. I mean, so from a like security controls perspective, that's going to be a shit show. But that wasn't something that we were necessarily testing. So.
A little bit of a red flag.
It is. Like, you should have a firewall between this stuff. You know? I think they wanted us to tread lightly on the network, is what we were asked. Because the network wasn't necessarily like, so, I mean, it was
or segmented.
Yeah,
But
I mean, the network components were in scope, but like,
it's like the platform, not the infrastructure.
Thank you for your, I think that was a great. Thank you, sir.
yeah, thank you.
You can move me over.
Yep, working it.
Okay. Just a couple quick things. I think I've seen many presentations that David gives, and they're always special.
Thank you.
They are really good.
Great.
And if those of you that don't know, he's actually been mentioned in the latest book for the CISSP, Common Body of Knowledge, on his presentation from, was it DEFCON or Black Hat on embedded devices?
Yeah, both of them.
He did.
We presented at both.
But anyhow, next month, we're gonna be here again. And it's,
Got it.
anything, let's go on here. Next month's meeting, we're gonna present on offensive security certified professional. It's basically, an ethical hacker and steroids, right?
But yes, I'm not there yet, but that's what I think it is.
No, that's what it is. I looked it up.
Crest also recognizes it now. There's a partnership with Crest, which is the UK testing
Yeah.
standards, and OCSP.
It's basically a 24-hour test.
Yeah, there's a lot more hands-on on Kali Linux actually hacking.
And there's no
That's a lot more than there was for certified ethical hacker. So I'll be interested to take that one.
Installed this morning.
If you're interested, OWASP next month is gonna have a presentation on setting up a secure Agile environment. Now, a lot of people that do programming in Agile don't think security is necessary in Agile anymore. And we've had presentations on secure DevOps before. And
That's what the backlog is for.
what? And then March 24th, ISSA, the local chapter, is going to have a after-hours event at Bad Weather Brewing. Advertising, some of the other, what do you call it, set here. Anybody else got any comments? We'll go back to the questions and answers, discussions. Anybody want to become one of our co-chairs so we can get this organization a little bit more professional? Appreciate it. Anyhow, I think that's about it, isn't it?
I think you're right.
Yeah, that's it. We got you out of here early. Good presentation. Take cookies and water home. It's paid for out of the treasury, so. Otherwise, I just give it to the students.
I'd be interested in some big security news right now, and it's always happy when people are actually giving good media attention to security, though it doesn't always come from the right perspective, is the whole deal with Apple and hacking this woman's phone. I know readers don't have a realistic idea of what it is that the FBI is asking Apple, but how many people have
have an understanding?
Well, it just basically, it's because it's a 5C, I believe. And that it is something that could be done.
Shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be done.
Well, I didn't say it shouldn't be done. It's like anybody says you put something on the internet, you put encryption on there. That encryption you're using today, 20 years from now, will be nothing. And that stuff don't go away. So, I mean, encryption is always going to be hacked eventually.
But if it can be done, if they're going to Apple to ask them to do it, the FBI surely has resources themselves to.
Well, that isn't quite what happened. You can actually, if you search for it, you can find the court order that was sent to Apple. What the court granted the FBI, and I think in many people's opinion erroneously, the court ordered Apple to write a replacement firmware for the phone that allows brute forcing. Now, anybody who has an iPhone and has entered the wrong password several times realizes that the time increases between password attempts that are allowed on a geographic scale. So first you get a couple seconds, and then 10 seconds, and then a minute, and then several minutes, and pretty soon your phone says it will be 20 years before your next password attempt.
Doesn't the current version actually wipe the device?
Yeah,
after so many
It does after,
Like 10,
yes, 10.
10.
And what the FBI requested and the court granted in their writ to Apple was that Apple write a replacement firmware that can be cross-loaded on the phone while the rest of the memory is still live, and it allows brute forcing. It allows remote keyboard attach, so you can programmatically enter passwords. It does not introduce any delays between password attempts, and it disables any secure wipe functions.
Okay, and that's why they need Apple, because they don't have the ability to work on the hardware
Well,
natively. To do the firmware.
the court could have mandated that Apple unlock this particular phone. That is not what the FBI asked for, nor is it what the court granted. The court granted a skeleton key firmware that could be applied to any iPhone and allow brute forcing.
The trick is Apple has to
Five,
sign the firmware.
it was
So you
just the
can't
older
go
ones, I
firmware,
think
Apple
the
has to
6
sign
is
it with
on,
their key.
is basically unbreakable for the
What's
present
the
stuff.
cause
This
of
is
why
the
this
5C,
all
which
got
this
started?
is.
Oh, this phone belonged to the Sacramento
5S,
shooter.
Which was the next higher model.
You know, the husband and wife team that shot
I
it.
think they wall things up.
Yeah, and the FBI wants to go through that phone to see.
And they can't because they don't have passwords.
Correct.
So there's a little, you said a little something that I missed in all the stuff that I read because it probably wasn't in there. Apple can unlock this phone. No.
No,
No.
they were asked to write a firmware that allows.
No, I
brute forcing.
understand that part, but it does say that I'm a moron and I've got an Apple phone and I've locked myself out. I can't just call up Apple and get it unlocked.
Well, you can, but it would destructively erase everything in memory.
Yeah.
You can say, okay, I give up, I'm starting over, which is fine because then you can go
Okay.
restore your iCloud backup.
Factory
The
reset.
problem is,
It's a
So
restart
this guy
factory.
turned off his iCloud backup.
So it's not like they could
It's a
just,
restart factory.
they could
Yeah.
just unlock this phone. What we're doing, the issue is that we're creating a process for which any Apple phone can be unlocked from here on forward.
yes, any Apple phone can be brute forced, not necessarily unlocked, but presume an infinite amount of time
Right.
to attack the phone. Once it's in the FBI's possession, then yes, unlocked.
What
Yeah, but
about,
that leaves it wide open for any nefarious
Attacker.
Yes,
attack
and if
by
that
the same
firmware,
token.
yes, and if that firmware leaves the FBI's hands, which I'm sure at some
Oh,
point
that
it
never
might,
happened.
what do you think?
Well,
then
The problem is
now
that
anybody in that
foreign
possession can
governments,
attack.
foreign governments at that
NSA,
point
no,
will want
it'll never
a copy of it.
FBI, I'm
course.
not so sure.
Right, and that's why Apple in their wisdom is saying no. Because if the court had said, Apple unlock this particular phone for us,
Right.
Apple may actually say, yes, we'll do that. But for Apple to provide the government with a skeleton key that can be used to brute force any phone is insane.
It opens
And then
effectively.
It's the Clipper chip.
Go after Android and BlackBerry and Windows.
Well, and the advantage with Android phones is it's not all one unified hardware. There's a whole bunch of different ARM-based CPUs that are in there, and they have different bootloaders, and they
It's
have
easier to
different.
flash your own.
You're right. You can go Cyanogen mod or one of the other mods out there and put your own firmware on there. Android phones are, for being an open ecosystem, a lot safer for individual consumers because those consumers can look at what's happening in the code, and if they want to go AOSP, they can go to the Android open source project and actually review the code that's running on their phone. There's no way you can do that with an Apple product. At this point, we're trusting Apple, and right now Apple's making the right decision, but the government may find leverage somewhere that forces Apple's hand. And then, well, I hope you don't own an iPhone.
The biggest thing is with Scalia dead, we don't have anybody in the Supreme Court saying that privacy is not in the Constitution anymore. Or so. I mean, that's basically where a lot of people are sitting there, that it doesn't give you a right. I worry about the government,
Security
but
of papers
I
and
also
effects.
worry about little brothers that are out there that are collecting all the data on you too. It's not just the government. But you're right, if the FBI gets it, it'll be out there in the open.
Yeah, I'm less concerned about our government, although that is a concern, than I am about the Chinese.
Well, and remember that encryption for a long time has been considered a weapon. It's been governed in intellectual property circles as considered as a
Well,
weapon for export purposes.
Oh, and
I
talk.
If you have something
Bringing ours, yeah.
Exactly. So if you have something that is this super special decryption key, you have an arms race.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, as soon as one person has it, the other say, "Oh, I want that too," or we'll make our own.
I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
but it's, back in the 90s when Clinton wanted to put a backdoor in all encryption
The
programs.
Clipper chip.
Clipper chip, yeah.
Remember the Clipper chip and how badly that failed? This is the Clipper
I
chip
mean,
2.0.
it basically, like Bruce Snyder says, if we put something in there where we're forcing vendors in the United States, or that corporations from the United States, that they have to put in these back doors, it'll only affect us, because everybody else will go to someone else, some
Right.
other country, to get the stuff where you don't have the back doors.
And then Clipper didn't work. Obviously, it was a hard sell. So they said, oh, well, then let's do key escrow, where you break your key in half, and we'll have one part of the government over here that has half your key, and another part of the government over here that has half your key, and they'll only ever be putting them together with a warrant, wink, wink.
Except for the one shared
And-
database. Yeah.
Right. And at that point, most of us realized the past tense of escrow is escrew, as in once your key is escrowed, you are escrewed.
You can make that safe though if the two parts of the government you give them to are the Republican National Committee and the Democratic, because they will never share any information.
Yes, there will be an executive order that this half of the key is used, and the other one will be held up in committee forever.
Yes, exactly. Perfect. Exactly.
So maybe that's the way
Put
to
it
do
in
it.
bureaucracy and we're all safe.
I mean, to tell the truth, I don't think, as recent hacks have gone, I don't think the government is very good at securing data that they keep anyhow.
No,
Not as thoroughly.
we got a letter from the Office of Personnel.
Not me, but
Thank you very much.
Who has family members who also got a letter?
Oh, really?
Really? All right. Not because they had their own security thing, but because of the stuff that was on your application.
They can hold me responsible for their.
what I liked is the IRS was handing out tax pens.
So if you want to become my friend, I'll add you to my next application.
IRS tax filing pins. Everybody knows what that means. That means they can get your refund. They can file lawsuits of false returns in your name.
My employer's working on a solution for that though.
Boy, if they can have my return, when they write the check, it'll work good.
Of course, they fake all the information, take the government's money.
Yes, I know. I've seen how it all works.
So I mean, it's not that I don't trust the government. I don't trust the government. But I don't trust businesses that are out there either. The Googles or the Apples or what do you call it are not necessarily always working in our best interest, no matter how much they say they are. Just look at how many calls your iPhone or every app on your iPhone or your Android phone makes back to a advertiser every time you open it up and every time you do anything.
Yeah, Windows 10 is pretty good for that too.
Yeah,
Some
Windows
employer
10
can't answer the question, but how many people trust their employer?
Trust is not binary.
Yeah, exactly. Some things yes, some things maybe not.
That's right.
Anything else? You're welcome to stay. We've got the room till 5. So you're welcome to stay around and talk, or we could go to a bar someplace and talk. I don't know where there is any close. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere here.
Well, there's bars in Prairie, there's bars in Bloomington. Take your pick.
So I've been stopping my speed limit.
Take it easy, guys.
So it just from having them gone.
Oh,
And I've never lived in the